It's really it's glass wrapped around everything. It's sweet. I'm actually getting ready to move soon, but I loved it here.
Oh wow. Hi.
Hello.
Good.
How are you guys?
Good.
How are you?
Good. Courtney, you want to make sure you have share ability?
Yes, I did. I tried it before you all hopped on. So I think I'm good. I think I'm good. I just have some images to kind of like walk through how I got to this place. I have a non-traditional background. I started out in education, so I feel like the images help tell that story.
Gotcha. Awesome. Hi, Liz.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you, ladies and gentlemen?
Hi.
Good. Let me just do this. You know when you're like dual screen and
Okay.
yeah, we're gonna play some tunes. While people, you know that awkward silence while people get it. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. Jesus, the notorious judge. Lead us with your lyrical thesis. We just chillin', look up, stop feeling silky and pure. And vegan, little seeds, Malibu sea breeze, dog peas, palm trees, cats named Otto, and milked out the apple. The williest one, it just be the silliest. The more I quote, the more of the silliest. Room 112, where the players dwell, and fast forecast and Bert Fidel. Inhale, make you feel good like Tony. Hit up in your middle like Tony. You don't know me, but you're setting up the blow. Try to style slide wrong with a home. Yes, gotta. Player, safe virgin. Game so tight, they call it virgin. Oh, I need to know where we stand. We share the special thing called love. I know I do. What about you? I just can't get over I know what do I do? I can't live without love. Thinking of you. Like I am the only one for you. Girl, I'm all time. Only you. Why can't we make it happen? Baby, I need my life every time I'm with you. Never wanted to come to an end. Thought I told you that. Always made me so happy. You'll always have a place in my heart. What do I know? What do I do? 'Cause I can't live without you.
Anything specific you want to get from this?
Love you makes me
Get the both of us.
like I'm the only. Now, you can hum all you want to, come all you want to. Money, I'ma front you. Girl, I wanna flaunt you. I'ma always want you. Nobody want you. If I die now, my love will still haunt you. Mace ain't the one that'll pay for your phone. Mace be the one that'll take you home. Even though I'm not the one that gave you the stones on your day, I can make you moan. Everybody know I got more bounce in the house. Bad boy, get more money than you can count. I'm riding names you can't even pronounce. I do it to you, cat, for a large amount. And when the beat come, you know where to be found. Why I be around till the winner is announced? Then you go, girl, with thousands in your palm. Why you can't let bygones be bygones? Where do I go? What must I do if I can't live without love? Thinking of you, amazed me, baby, like I'm the only one for you. Girl, I want, oh yeah, I need you, oh baby. Why can't we? Oh baby, oh baby, I thought I told you that we won't stop. Told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we
Awesome. Cool. Welcome, everybody. Hello. Welcome. It's Tuesday. Good morning to some of you from the West Coast. I know it's early. Thank you so much for being here. We're 2 minutes after, and we have a decent amount of participants, over 50 on the call. Very excited. Obviously, I've had too much coffee already. And so excited to have you guys here today to talk about psychological safety. This is really a discussion for you all, obviously, to continue to learn, engage, ask questions. We will be recording a part of this discussion, but we will pause recording towards the end to allow for open, free, and candid discussion. And I do want to take this time to thank all of you for being here, your passion, your willingness to continue this work. We're all here as a DID collaborative to ensure that we diversify the design industry. So I appreciate all of you being here sincerely. I know we're taking time out of your day, so thank you. I also want to thank our dynamic panelists who will have the opportunity to introduce themselves very shortly. Cortnie Squirewell, she is the design thinking catalyst for Ford Motor Company. And Akil Alvin, he is the founder and global chief creative officer for Digital Detroit Media. So Detroit is in the house. Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry.
And I will hand it over to Cortnie to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I was asked to share like how I got here. So I felt that it would be great to kind of share some images to kind of talk through that, because I don't have a traditional path, or I didn't have. All right, so let's see if I can figure this out.
Execution, so the actual
All right.
Email
so
subject
are you guys seeing the correct screen? Which screen are you seeing?
Really crappy email right now.
The picture, the images.
No notes?
No notes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So 10 years ago, I embarked on my second teaching experience. And 1 second, I'll wait. Can you guys all put yourselves on mute if you haven't done that? It's a few background noises, so I think it may help as we continue. Thank you all. So yeah, I embarked on a new teaching experience at a new elementary school, and it was called Henry Ford Academy. It was a special school because design thinking was at the core of the curriculum. And you'll notice in these images, like it was a bunch of ambitious teachers and building leaders going into a building for the first time, thinking like we were going to take over the education industry. But we soon learned that, this process and that we thought would work, the plan, it failed, and it failed fast. However, we put our hats together and began, as you'll see some of the images, mapping out ways to make the playground safe and the arrival and pickup time go smoothly using design thinking. So that was kind of my first take. Another cool thing about this elementary school is that the students had the opportunity to learn about it as well. So the curriculum was a K through 12, and each group had design challenges that they went through. And we found that introducing children to this at such a young age made them very responsible citizens and problem solvers. So during like daily interactions, they were always looking for ways to problem solve. It was pretty amazing. You'll see some images of Lee Thomas if you're from Detroit. If you're not, he is a local news reporter. So he came in to help the kids on interview tips and follow-up questions. And you'll also see some images of the kids showcasing some of their prototypes. And then I jumped over to a more corporate space. Here are some images from the Ford Resource and Engagement Center. And I was brought in to work with the community to identify gaps in the community, gaps in programs and services to help this community, you know, to achieve economic mobility. And by doing that, literally, our goal was to go directly to them using this process to figure out like what and how we could help them achieve it. So you'll see some images from some of these working sessions, and you'll also see some images of like some really empty rooms. And this is what came from that. After Ford and other partners, after Ford saw the needs and those gaps, they actually gave a $5 million investment to the space, and it provided programs around quality of life, basic needs, and then those economic mobility pieces as well. And this was a space that sat empty for over 10 years in an elementary school. And Ford basically, you know, used this process to then create this vibrant space where families and children can come in and participate in STEM, working on bikes. So they had entrepreneurship programs for children as well, and for adults to be able to come in and get their needs met, such as tax services and other programs to help them. So it was pretty cool because not only did the community identify the gaps, but they also selected the nonprofit partners to deliver those services. So it was a really great process. And then finally, I had the opportunity to do something similar with Boys and Girls Clubs of Southeast Michigan. If you guys are familiar with the motto, great place, families love it, kids love it. However, there was a decline in enrollment. Walking in on my first day, it was a room filled with really amazing tiny human beings, but it looked like I stepped into the 70s. Like the kids were playing pool. The game systems were probably systems that I used as a kid. Like I won't date myself, but use the same process, but also brought in funders. And here's some images of what came from that. The kids mentioned, you know, programs that they would want, families participated. So you'll see the first esports lab was in one of these spaces. Like now other clubs have picked up on that, which is amazing. There was an aviation program that was able to take place. Teens had a job through Spin Scooter, and not only did Spin come in and train the kids on how to actually code the scooters, but the kids also use that site to actually repair. So Spin would bring them, the kids would repair them, and they paid them. So this was all used through using the human-centered design approach, which is what I do at Ford. And I'm going to stop sharing and toss the baton.
Awesome. Go.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was saying thank you, Cortnie.
Now, Cortnie, you are amazing. Your name holds weight in the city. So I'm honored to be here with you, and I'm honored to be here amongst all of you all. So I have a quick video that tells you a little bit about me, but if it doesn't, if it glitches, I will just stop the video and I will, talk about who I am. So here it is.
Born in Detroit, we call it the D, where icons are made, raised on the history, which helped set the stage. Akil is no stranger to breaking barriers and setting the bar high. Beginning his advertising career at the age of 7, going on to greater heights by age 11. That's right. By 18, he was fully on the scene, launching his own agency, Digital Detroit Media, which today works with some of the world's leading brands, from Bank of America to Ford Motor Company. In 2020, DDM became the first company in history to be advised by the iconic Walt Disney Company. And under Akil's leadership, DDM embarked on another historic moment. And another one. As the first on-record ad agency to sign an exclusive multi-million-dollar agreement with a local government in the country, handling high-level messaging and rebranding for the city of Detroit. In 2022, Akil was named one of Forbes magazine's 30 under 30 top advertising executives in North America, and one of Black Marketers Association's top 20 most admired executives. The grind is driven by Detroit hustle. DDM believes in keeping it real because there's no other way to be. We know that to renew yourself, you have to be true to yourself and always use your power to authentically impact culture.
This is what he's done in the first 26 years of his life. I'm interested to see what Akil's going to do in the next 26 years of his life.
Right? Inspiring so many young people too. I love it.
Awesome. So thank you for having me. My name is Akil Alvin. I am the CEO and Global Chief Creative Officer of DDM. We're an ad agency with clients around the world, including the Walt Disney Company, DuPont, and countries that we're getting ready to announce later today or later this month. So we're doing a lot of great things, but I'm just honored to be here. So Chantal.
Thanks, Akil. Those are two tough acts to follow. So thank you so much. I kind of just want to learn more about you guys and, have a discussion another time, but we won't do that. But I encourage all of you to continue to engage with Akil and Cortnie, even after this discussion via LinkedIn or email. They have a breadth of knowledge within their respective organizations. So please continue this discussion offline and continue to engage with each other. So let's get right into it. Work environments are unsafe, unfortunately, for a number of different reasons. But mostly start from our leaders, from the top up. Leaders have the ability to mold organizational culture and behaviors within an organization. And sometimes middle management understands that sometimes leaders, lead inclusively, but the middle of the chart, which is sometimes the largest part of the pie, our middle level managers are the ones that make and break teams. So right now, in this time of high turnover, people don't usually leave organizations, they leave their leaders. So Akil and Cortnie, what can we do individually as formal or informal leaders for our communities and divisions? Cortnie, can you share with us about a time that you felt unsafe? How did it make you feel and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I will probably share like a super extreme case, but I think it's, this is a great place to kind of share it. And this is kind of like how you overcome. So for one, I think one thing I did forget to share is how I define it, psychological workplace. And in my opinion, it's where people can be honest. You're free to be your authentic self. So like today, I'm rocking my curly do because it's hot in Detroit if you're here. And another thing is an environment where you're free to fail, try different processes. And if it doesn't work out, you iterate and you get back up and you keep trying. So a case that when I felt unsafe, I was working somewhere for a very ambitious leader, like a great leader and a great visionary. But the leader did not have a work-life balance, which is fine. Like I feel like we've probably all encountered people that are like that. But the unfortunate thing is he kind of like expected the entire team to have like the same values. And I'm a mother who never uses the excuse of being a mom. And I mean, I have a village, but I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and and I'm also this amazing. I thrive to be great in wherever I'm employed, but there are times when I have to choose my mental health over anything. And there are often times when the team was expected to kind of like work after hours, and which is totally fine. I think you kind of sign up for that depending on where you are. But one particular event was like literally a 3-day event. So Friday after work, the event, I believe, ended at like 12. And then Saturday, it was from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then Sunday again at 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And mind you, I worked my regular Friday schedule. So the Monday after this long event, I told the director, hey, like I'm completely exhausted, and I'm gonna use Monday to, flex my time, and I want to just honestly some time to like decompress from like such a like really high energy weekend, and to selfishly spend some time with my daughter and husband, because I didn't see them for the entire weekend and I was in town. But the response that I got back was, that's not a policy here. And if you stay home, for one, it will impact your, your work performance, and it will also count against your PTO. And unfortunately, I knew going to HR would have resulted in the same, because a lot of times, like was stated before, leaders typically can hold the power, and sometimes in smaller organizations even influence human resources, which are typically supposed to be a safe space for people to go and talk to and share how things are making them feel. So I mean, honestly, it kind of made me resent the leader. And to overcome it, like meditation really helped. And unfortunately, like I had to like seek a therapist, which like you should never, in my opinion, have to like use a therapist to like talk about all work. Like that's just like wrong. Like I feel like there's so many other layers of people, and work should be like a fun place to go. But yeah, it was really starting to take a toll on my mental health. And of course, the culture was toxic. And due to my rank in the company, I had to, of course, like keep this facade, because, I wasn't going to start, talking about it, but it was something that I really had to deal with internally, until finding a new place to go. And I mean, honestly, if nothing else, it really made me think differently about my next move. And I feel like the interviews that I had coming into where I am now were all about culture and the type of environment, because I felt that I owed myself this safe space after coming out of like, a toxic space. So yeah, that's kind of like my super, super extreme, but it was just the one that was like top of mind.
Thanks, Cortnie. Akil, I'll restate the question just in case. Can you share with us a time that you felt unsafe at work, and how did you overcome that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the things, if you listen to the video, that news broadcast was earlier this year, and it said, wow, I see what he did at 26 years old. I want to see what he does at the next 26 years old. So I have always gone into rooms where I'm the youngest, always. And in certain cases, and in most cases now, as a CEO of a company, I always go into a room where I'm the youngest, as well as one of the few people of color that voice matters. I didn't say the few people of color that's in the room, but that voice matters. I think so often psychological safety, when it comes to people of color, we can think things, but we dare not say it. at the risk of losing our job, at the risk of being demoted, at the risk of being taken off something that we're passionate about, that we know that will work. And especially when we're talking about people of multicultural communities. You know, in advertising, that's what we specialize in. We specialize in equity, diversity, inclusion, multicultural marketing. And so often the people of color who communities you're trying to target are the people that are silenced. So often we would come in a room and we would say, did you really try to, we try not to use the R word because I know that's a little touchy. So we say, okay, let's try to train you. That won't work in our community, because I think one of the things that we have to educate people on is that we're not one monolithic group of people, even within the culture, right? And I think that's psychological safety, where you can't be Black and educated because no, you speak like this, you speak like that. So one of the things, always coming into a room, we're always looked down upon. As you can see, I'm in Forbes, I've been, named all of these great things, but just recently we had a corporation who we signed a multi-year deal with, and we showed them some of our work. And she said, wow, so what part did you do? And we were taken aback a little bit. We were like, we're a full service ad agency. Okay, no, you're not understanding my question. What did you outsource? And we said, well, okay, no, me personally, so I'm always the nicest on my team. I'm the nicest, and I'm the youngest. So a lot of times my staff came from corporate America. So like, no, that's not right. I'm like, no, we're full service. We did everything. Okay, no, you're not understanding my question. So if this happened, did you do concept? Did you do video? Who did you outsource to? Who's your subcontractors? It's cool, you can tell us. And she kept going back and forth, and we kept saying we're a full service ad agency. And she literally put herself on mute and stopped talking because she couldn't believe that we produce this type of work. And that's the type of things that African Americans and people of color go through every day in corporate America. No matter how successful you are, you could be the #1 pharmaceutical sales rep in the country, and you will still be put on an improvement plan. We had someone on our staff that's like that. And these are the stories that we've been told. And oftentimes when we speak up for the culture, because our tagline is to authentically impact culture, whatever that looks like. When we speak up, oftentimes we always have hey, can you jump on this Zoom, or can you set up a Zoom so, it's not from the company so we could talk? And it's often, thank you for saying that. I couldn't say it. And I will always get upset because I'm like, you're in the room. How can you let it get to this far and you didn't say anything? But again, it's that psychological safety where you feel like you would be reprimanded. You would be fired or demoted if you say anything. So that is how that impacted me less than a month ago.
Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna just piggyback off of that. Can you both share with us? Love it, Dorian, speak up. Yes, thanks for you guys that are in the chat right now. Selena said, thank you for sharing. I've been in the same place. This was for Cortnie, and it's always nice to know that you're not alone. How have you built up the courage to say something? Akil and Cortnie, when you're in those difficult situations, how have you built up that strength, that courage? Because it's definitely not easy. And knowing those fears, right? Those realistic fears of demotion or being reprimanded, how have you done it?
So I've had the honor of always coming in from the outside, coming in with the backing that, hey, this guy is from, it's a Forbes 30 under 30. Let's bring this company in to help change some things, to help bring new messaging. So that always are like, okay, we can really say some things now. But you can tell when companies just throw out the phrase diversity and inclusion because they're just meeting a quota. You can tell who's in the room who really doesn't have a voice, who's at the table who really thoughts doesn't matter, because you're putting diversity first before inclusion. You see, when you put diversity first, you're just meaning a quota. You're just saying, I need a Black face in the room. I need a brown face in the room. And I just need you at the table so I can do this sustainability report or this DEI report and say, look at our ratio. Look at what we've done. But when you switch it around, we always tell our clients to switch it around. Because when you put inclusion at the forefront, that's when you get diverse thoughts. That's when you get diverse mindsets, diverse stories, diverse people. because you're being intentional about being inclusive. That is how you change some things. And that is some of the things that we always come in and say from the outside. Again, it's hard from the inside because you're always at the mercy of them, of anyone, of every corporation. But even within my corporation, I love that we're one of the most diverse teams in thought, age, race, sexual orientation, gender. And we always say we want to follow your dreams as you grow up. As is not always an age. As can be as you're in this new position. We want to follow your dreams to show you that your dreams are valid. We want to give you reason to say, okay, let's dream again. Because so often in corporate America, your dreams are stifled. You don't have permission to dream. And so often corporations stop dreaming because they get to a certain plateau or meet $1 billion round table and say, okay, we'll stop dreaming because we're at the top. We're stop dreaming. We're just going to put, I always tell my corporation, stop putting during February an African flag on your logo. And then as soon as March 1st hit, it disappears. In June, you want to make your logo rainbow. In July 1st, it disappeared. Because we're not Black just in February. We're Black 365 days a year. LGBT are of that demographic 365 days a year. Be inclusive. Make inclusion first. And that's how you change the whole perspective of your company.
Cortnie, anything to add?
No, I think those are some great points. One thing that I do is I'm so grateful, like Ford, and unfortunately, Akil, they do call it DE&I, but we do have some like really great opportunities through some of our ERGs. And one of the things that they host often, they have listening sessions. So whenever an email comes up for a listening session, I always participate because I feel like it's a very good way for me to continue to do my part and to share stories and just to use those spaces to talk and answer questions for the greater enterprise. And we have them all the time. Like they are typically centered around whatever the months may be. So Black History Month, there was one for Women's History Month, and they even had one around what's happening with the Roe versus Wade, which is a great way for and how they structure them is they'll ask folks to participate on the panel, and then they'll invite directors who may not look like the panel to just listen, like they're not debates. So one way that I show up is by participating and just making sure that this message is always told and heard, and just sharing like real stories so that as a company we can continue to go towards being a great company that fosters ideas and cares for each other.
Cortnie, someone asked in the chat, what would you tell your younger self or advise your younger self, your younger professional self?
That's a great question. I guess to be strong, especially when I was going through some of the different situations that I mentioned. And another thing that I've always felt has kind of helped me is just like the preparation. Like I believe someone told me this at a young age, always be prepared for the next step just in case. And if something doesn't feel right, like, you are in charge of your destiny. And I've kind of always lived by that. And if I've ever been in a situation where I feel like my morals don't align with wherever I'm working, like that's time for me to go somewhere else, so that, because I don't want to in turn be that person. Because I feel like if you're immersed in that kind of environment, then it's either hard to get out or you become that. And, I've always been kind of fearful of, making sure that like I did not become that, which is why I did seek help and I read books as well to just continue to make sure my mental psyche was where it needed to be.
Awesome, thank you. Akil, you mentioned earlier the importance of inclusion, right? Being at the forefront. And in April, the DID Network discussed the importance of creating a culture of belonging. And that's something that inclusion obviously does. And also how Psychological safety inspires creativity and ideas. We often know within corporations, there are social norms, right, that develop naturally. Can you share with us how, what are some unwritten rules within your organization or your division? And as a creative, how do you incorporate those unwritten or written rules of diversity and inclusion in design?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that starts at the top, right? It starts to allow people to be able to speak their mind in a professional way, in a respectful way, but allow them to be able to breathe again, allow them to be able to dream again. So often we cap people and put a ceiling on some of the most amazing talent within our company. We want them to get really, really great at what they do, but only at such a level. And that's something that I didn't want to do. Again, I came in, I tell my staff I'm in a masterclass every day because I am the youngest. Some of my staff is on here. I'm the youngest. However, one of the things that is amazing is these women and men that are part of the C-suite are so amazing at bringing their thought process. It's bringing their story because everyone came from unique perspectives. Like I said, even within a community of African-American or whatever, we're not one monolithic group of people. We all have unique stories, unique perspectives, unique backgrounds. So what we wanted to do was create those opportunities for self-awareness. Create those platforms for self-awareness and create platforms and opportunities to really decompress. So we have community workshop days, we have company retreats that we go on at least once a month, where we can go pick a beautiful hotel wherever we're in, whether it's Chicago, we're going to New Orleans soon, Detroit, and let's get down and let's really talk and decompress. Let's talk about what is your dreams, whether that's vision boards. What do you see yourself in this company? What is something that the company is not doing that your unique perspective can do? We have an amazing person that's over communications within our company that was an educator for 30 plus years. And honestly, when she first came over, she tried to hide that fact. She felt really down about that because she felt that, she was left out. There was a saying that she would always say is those who can't just go into education, and honestly, one of the things that we did was we embraced that. So because she was in that background, we said, okay, let's start a community engagement arm. And we started DDM Culture Academy that we're launching this fall with DPSCD to help make sure that we can authentically impact culture from the ground up, allowing young people to follow their dreams as they grow up. So I think the biggest thing, back to your question, the biggest thing is allowing people to be themselves authentically, not trying to cap them, not trying to fit them into a mold that the summary or the offer sheet said, but bring you to the work. We wanted you, we hired you, and everything that comes with you. So that is one of the things that we love to do, trusting that these people will do their job and trusting that they bring something unique to the table.
Yeah, thank you. I love that you talk about your team. I want to point that out, that you've touched on, the different qualities and efforts and skill sets that your team makes, and that is why DDM is successful, because it's Akil, Alvin, but it's all of you. So thank you for that. Cortnie, anything to add?
Okay, what was it? Norms.
Unwritten rules in your organization. As a creative, how do these unwritten rules manifest in design as well in your work?
Yeah, so something really cool that we have going on is learning labs, and we have Anise Kavanaugh, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and she does these sessions that are around IEPs, and it means your intentional energetic presence. So we kick those off monthly, and when I tell you, I'm a very spiritual person, so going to these is just like literally the first time I was pinching myself, because I'm like, man, this is something that I do on the side to, continue to practice, but literally it's brought into the workplace. And I have to say that it's very refreshing, because as we go into meetings, one of the cool things we always do is just kind of check ourselves at the door, like, hey, what kind of energy are you bringing to this space? Like, do you need to take a moment? Like, if you just ended a call that maybe didn't go well, but just really taking that time to understand and recognize when maybe you're off, and maybe some of the things that may make you upset may be actually projections. So I feel like that's really been helpful. And you can see it throughout the lab when you're going in, because, and I mean, I don't just say this because some of my team is on here, but like the space in the terms of the culture within D4, which is the arm that I'm working on, is just a breath of fresh air down to everyone walks, lives, and breathes it. And you can tell, you know, you can see it as you walk into the lab, and folks are always willing to help, and the prototypes are pumping out the music. It's and I owe it to definitely like just starting at the top with valuing that. And another cool thing is really just this idea of gratitude. We're always grateful, to Akil's point, of the team members that play a part in rolling out some of these projects. And there's always an opportunity, no matter where we are in our global meetings, where you can actually like go off mute and talk about someone and a project that you worked on, and why it's successful and the people behind it. So I feel like that gratitude and kudos is a part of that as well. That's kind of like driving the innovation throughout our team.
Awesome, thank you. I love that you said from the top. Key from the top. Charlotte asked in the chat, what are some concrete examples of day-to-day changes you can make to create a sense of psychological safety?
That's a good question. So I guess
right now, so hopefully we get this.
one thing. Okay.
I know someone's I could think they got muted. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so I guess one thing that can take place that's easy to implement is really just acknowledging what's going on within the space and owning it. And I think that's important, because a lot of times, like even when the culture is not good, a lot of times like there's a lot of blame, and you know, a lot of times like people don't want to, you know, take acceptance for some of those behaviors. So maybe just like creating a space where people are free to maybe get some of those things out, talk about them. And I mean, I don't think it's healthy to kind of stay in that space, but to then start to figure out what are things that we could do as a team to create a safer environment, or maybe even starting with a safer environment at the top of that conversation, and starting to kind of shift that norm there. And maybe it's even taking trips if your team has the budget, because as Akil was talking about some of their trips to New Orleans and Chicago, like I think also times to kind of break away are healthy, and it gets your creative juices flowing as well, like when you're out of your home office and your physical space as well.
Great, thanks. Akil?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that's acknowledging when someone does something great. That can go a long way. You know, so often we have communication when things are failing or things are wrong, but just acknowledging that you did it, that you are amazing, you are appreciated. Every space that I go into, no matter if it's Akil on the marquee or whatever, I make sure it's intentional to acknowledge the team, because I wouldn't be here without that team. You know, there's so many amazing people that works for DDM that makes it go. So it's one of those things that's acknowledging, having things in the top of the week. If we have a staff meeting every Monday, to say, we see you, we see what you did, that you went above and beyond, you did what was required of you, you got the job done, but you said, nah, let's do this a different way. Let's get what you asked for, but I thought about this way. Oh, I thought about this. How would this be dope for a client? And I think one of the things that's beautiful is oftentimes, as spiritual as I am, as you said, Cortnie, I can get down and defeated. And I have to give it to my team for all being people of spirituality, where they see it before I see it. And there's been so many times where allowing someone to say, look, I know you're about to stop, but just push through. I see something. And allowing them the freedom to say, okay, I don't see it right now. I feel defeated. I am tired. But because you're so passionate about this, I'm going to push through. And so often I would say, no matter if it's Ford, no matter if it's Forbes, no matter if it's Disney, I would not be here if it wasn't for those women and those people in this team that saw before I saw. Because honestly, I can honestly say and admit that I would have gave up. I had every intention on giving up. I didn't want to do the things that was necessary. And it wasn't because that we couldn't, but because it seemed like every roadblock was stopping it. But because of the faith and the spirituality and the freedom to say, okay, you have the power to say to leadership, I see something. Just please keep it going. And give them the freedom and the power to say, look, I need you to lead this. It all the time, it's the leader is not the one that's doing out all the demands. That's saying, do this, do this, do this. The leader is the person that empowers the team to say, okay, you see something, I believe in you. And I am so thankful that I've done that and so thankful for this team. So those are some of the day-to-day things that we've done.
So thank you. Andrew, I see your question in the chat. I'm going to just hold that one for the end. My last question for our two panelists are, what are you doing now to ensure your organization or workplace is psychologically safe, specifically for Black creatives? And I'll let Akil go first.
I think it's one of the things, some of the things that we're doing to make it safe for Black creatives is allowing them to be in the rooms that so often Black people are not in. We were told by a huge company that, let's just say a huge company that was, I grew up on, my family grew up on everything. And they said, if you fail, we would just tell our counterparts on our board that we tried to work with a Black agency. And the things that were put on our shoulders of you have to be the one that makes sure that there's other Black agencies that come behind you. You have to be the one that speaks up. And so much, even that company right now calls us the North Star because we spoke up and we're making some things happen for that company globally. But to allow Black creatives to be in the room, to just see, feel the energy and to say, you know what, I'm sitting in this chair. I want you to sit behind me because I promise I will not be the last one here. And allowing young people to come up. You know, we have that DDM Culture Academy where we go into high schools and different neighborhood service organizations, different of that nature, where we show young people representation. I look like you, I came from the same neighborhood that you came from. If I can do it, you can do it. You know, it's like the poem, what is it? A dream deferred? Does it rot like a potted meat and fall up like a raisin in the sun? Mm-hmm. I show that I am a dream confirmed. So that is some of the things that we do is just allow representation, allow you to see, allow you to be in the rooms and allow you to see the things that we had to go through as a Black agency and the success rates that we have now. That is the most powerful thing that you can do for any creative.
Cortnie.
Awesome. Akil, yes. So on our end, what we're doing is being a lot more intentional in terms of how we're bringing on interns. Because currently, I'm sure everyone is aware of the divide with African Americans that are in this space. So one of the ways that we're showing up is really being intentional about making sure that we're really drawing from a diverse pool of interns to the point where we have an advisory board. And there's a whole plan of making sure that, you know, you're getting or they're getting to those designers, because at the end of the day, the designers are out there. It's just a matter of where you're going to find them and also changing maybe certain things that are in your policies that will then allow some of those creatives to come on based on certain barriers that they may have had in school. So those are some things that we're working on, you know, and making sure that, to Akil's point, that students of color are aware of certain careers in the automotive design space and how those careers are very similar to maybe what they're more used to in terms of like apparel and shoe design, but how, you know, your same skills and color and trims could actually translate over to a vehicle and also make you a really nice financial break within paying some of those student loans off if you have them. So those are some of the ways that we're being intentional. And of course, being a part of this great organization has also been an amazing opportunity to continue to collaborate with other designers and making sure that we're benchmarking other companies and making sure that we're really bringing in the best in class talent to actually like help our company move to the next level.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That ends our formal discussion. I'm going to pause.